Well, 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 look who's back on the moon. That's right, folks, me, Johnny McCabe. Last stop was Vesta, where the highlight was a mountain taller than Everest, but with 0 coffee shops. So here I am switching up my asteroid diet for some good old lunar dust. But this time, I'm hopeful. Maybe today's the day I finally find something cool. Maybe ancient ruins, maybe hidden treasure, maybe, dare I dream, an actual alien. Either way, I did my homework, so before we touch down, let me hit you with this. First up, you gotta know that the moon is a master of the slow fade. The moon's been socially distancing from Earth at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters per year. That's like the width of a banana every year. At this rate, in a few billion years, Earth's gonna have to send some really desperate comeback baby texts. And you know what the moon's response will be? Probably just a cold, hard silence. Speaking of savage, did you know the moon has quakes? I'm not talking about those cute little tremors you get on Earth. NASA figured out the moon has quakes, and unlike Earth, these can last for hours. Imagine, you're just chilling in your moon base, sipping on some dehydrated space juice, and suddenly, BAM! The whole place starts shaking like a washing machine full of space rocks. And it just keeps going, and going. Thanks, moon. Real comforting. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of personally sniffing the moon, but according to those brave souls who walked on it before me, this place has a distinct aroma. The Apollo astronauts, those intrepid explorers of yore, they said the moon smells like, wait for it, burnt gunpowder. Yep, you heard that right. Burnt gunpowder, which means if I scrape my boot on the ground here, I should be getting that fresh-faced BBQ scent. Pink Floyd lied, there's no dark side. Contrary to popular belief and that iconic Pink Floyd album, there's no actual dark side of the moon. The truth is, the moon rotates just like Earth, so every part of it gets sunlight at some point. But hey, the occasionally shaded side of the moon just doesn't sound as cool, does it? Moon smoothies coming to a galaxy near you? All right, thirsty for some good news? Well, buckle up because scientists have discovered something amazing. Water on the moon. Okay, so it's not exactly flowing rivers and sparkling lakes. It's more like frozen water molecules trapped in the soil and ice lurking in the shadows of craters. But still, water is water, which means, theoretically, I could make a moon smoothie. Just gotta find a blender that works in 0 atmosphere. And maybe some moon strawberries. Chapter 6, Moon Dunks. 10/10 would recommend. Ever dreamt of soaring through the air like Michael Jordan, slam dunking a basketball? Well, on the moon, that dream could be a reality. See, lunar gravity is only about 1/6 of Earth's. That means you'd weigh about 6 times less, so yeah, you could jump higher, run faster, and dunk like a pro. Just, bring a spacesuit, and a basketball, and maybe a hoop because, logistics. Here's a fun fact, because the moon has no atmosphere, there's no wind or rain to erode stuff. Which means anything left up here is gonna stick around for a very, very long time, like millions of years. So if I were to, say, carve Johnny Was Here into a rock, some alien archaeologist in the year 3 million might find it, and assume I ruled this place. Behold, they'll say, the ancient markings of the great and powerful Johnny. Or maybe they'll just think I'm a really vain space tourist. Ever wonder where the moon came from? Well, scientists think it was formed billions of years ago when a giant object, like a rogue planet the size of Mars, slammed into Earth. The impact sent a bunch of debris into space, and over time that debris coalesced, cooled down, and voila, the moon was born. Which means technically this is just Earth's long-lost twin that moved out and never called back. Let's talk moon weather, shall we? Or rather, the lack thereof. See, with no atmosphere to regulate things, temperatures on the moon are, how shall I say this, a tad extreme. During the day, the surface can reach a scorching 260 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to bake a pizza inside your spacesuit. But wait, there's more. At night, the temperature plummets to a frigid minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, packing for a moon trip is tricky. No matter what time I land, I'm always dressed wrong for the occasion. From down on Earth, the moon looks like a perfect celestial sphere, right? Well, I hate to break it to you, but our lunar neighbor isn't exactly winning any beauty contests in the perfectly round category. Turns out the moon is a little well, lumpy. It bulges a bit at the equator and is slightly squashed at the poles, like someone sat on it, or maybe it's still recovering from that hole getting hit by a Mars-sized object thing. Space is weird, man. Now this next one is a real head-scratcher. Astronauts who've been lucky enough to witness a lunar sunset have reported seeing something strange, a weird misty glow along the horizon, just after the sun dips below the lunar landscape. Scientists are still trying to figure out what causes this eerie phenomenon. Some say it's dust particles scattering light. Others think it might be ice crystals. Me? I say it's moon ghosts. Hold on to your helmets, folks, because this next fact is straight out of a science fiction movie. Remember that iconic monolith from 2001, A Space Odyssey? Well, guess what? The moon has one too. Okay, so it's not on the moon itself, but on its teeny, tiny moonlet. Yeah, that's right, the moon has a mini-moon. And on that mini-moon sits a monolith-shaped rock. Scientists say it's a natural formation, but I'm not so sure. It just looks a little too deliberate. Remember the space race? Well, turns out the competition isn't entirely over. See, somewhere up here, buried in the lunar dust, lies a relic of the Cold War, an old Soviet lunar rover. It's been up here for decades, just waiting to be rediscovered. And you know what? If I stumble across it, I'm totally stealing it for parts. Gotta keep this ship running, and those Soviet engineers knew their stuff. Plus, think of the bragging rights. Thinking of bringing back some moon dust as a souvenir? Well, before you do, let me give you a little warning. Moon dust is not your friend. It's made up of tiny, jagged particles that are like microscopic shards of glass. And because there's no wind or rain on the moon, these particles never get worn down. They just stay sharp and abrasive. Moon dust gets everywhere, clings to everything, and can even damage spacesuits. So basically, the moon has glitter. Deadly, stabby glitter. Last but not least, we've got a fact that's sure to make you see the moon in a whole new light. During the Apollo missions, NASA intentionally crashed a lunar module into the moon's surface. And guess what? The moon rang like a bell. Okay, not exactly like a bell, but it did vibrate for a surprisingly long time. Scientists say it's because the moon's interior is still molten. But I like to think it's because it's hollow and aliens are inside. But hey, that's just my theory. Well, that's 15 facts for you. Still no alien ruins, still no moon Martians, but I can't shake the feeling I'm not alone out here. Which means, time to wrap up and not get abducted today. Next stop, Venus. Because, you know, landing on a planet that's basically a death sauna sounds way better than dealing with whatever the hell's watching me here. Stay tuned, space fans.